Thomas Edison was born in 1847. He lived in a small town in Ohio, USA. He was the youngest of 7 children. When Thomas was 7 years old, he started school. But school was not easy for him. His teacher said Thomas was different. Thomas liked to learn in his own way. He did not like sitting in a classroom all day. After 3 months, his mother decided to teach him at home. His mother was very kind and patient. She believed in Thomas. She knew he was smart. At home, Thomas learned many things. He loved books. He read about science and machines. He also did experiments. He wanted to make new things. One day, he built a small laboratory in the basement of his house. He used old bottles, wires, and tools. He spent hours working in his lab. When Thomas was 12 years old, he started his first job. He sold newspapers and candy on a train dot. He worked hard and saved money. He used the money to buy more tools and books for his experiments. One day, he saved a boy from a train accident. The boy's father was so thankful that he taught Thomas how to use the telegraph. This was the start of Thomas's interest in communication. Thomas did not always succeed in his experiments. Many times his ideas did not work. But Thomas did not give up. He believed that failure was a way to learn. He said, "I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that do not work." This mindset made him strong. When Thomas was a teenager, he continued to work on his experiments. He was always curious about how to make life better. He started to create small inventions. Some of them worked and some of them didn't, but Thomas didn't stop. He always said, "I will try again." One day, Thomas invented a device that could send messages faster. It was called a duplex telegraph. This invention made him some money. With that money, he moved to New York City. In the big city, Thomas rented a small room and started working on new ideas. He worked day and night. He often forgot to eat or sleep because he was so focused on his work. In New York, Thomas met many people who believed in his talent. They gave him money to start a workshop. He built a place where he and his team could work on inventions. This workshop became his invention factory. Thomas hired smart people to help him. He believed that teamwork was important. Together, they worked on many new ideas. One of Thomas's most famous inventions was the phonograph. This machine could record and play sound. People were amazed. They had never seen anything like it. Newspapers called Thomas a wizard because he made such magical inventions. But Thomas always said, "It's not magic, it's hard work." Another great invention was the electric light bulb. Before the light bulb, people used candles or oil lamps. These were not safe and did not give much light. Thomas wanted to create something better. He worked for many months. He tried different materials for the bulb. Many times, the bulb did not work. But Thomas did not give up. Finally, he found the right material, carbon filament. The light bulb worked. Now, people could have light in their homes at night. Thomas's light bulb changed the world. It made life easier and safer. It also showed that with hard work and patience, anything is possible. After Thomas Edison created the light bulb, he knew that his invention could change the world. But it wasn't enough to just make a light bulb. He wanted everyone to use it. For that, he needed a way to bring electricity to homes, streets, and buildings. So, Thomas began working on a system to deliver electricity. Thomas and his team built the first power station in New York City. This station could send electricity to homes and businesses nearby. It was a big success. People were excited to have electric lights in their homes. They no longer needed to use candles or oil lamps. The streets became brighter and safer at night. However, not everyone believed in Thomas's ideas. Some people said that electricity was dangerous. Others thought it was too expensive. But Thomas didn't let the criticism stop him. He believed in his work, and he worked harder to prove people wrong. Slowly, more cities started to build power stations. Electricity became more popular, and Thomas's dreams started to come true. Even though Thomas became very famous, he didn't stop inventing. He always said, "There is always more to learn." He worked on many other inventions, like the motion picture camera. This camera could record moving pictures, which we now call movies. Thanks to Thomas's work, people could watch stories on a screen. Thomas's hard work inspired many people. He taught the world that failure is not the end. In fact, Thomas failed many times before his inventions worked. But he believed that each failure was a step closer to success. He often said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Through his inventions, Thomas showed the power of curiosity and persistence. He didn't let difficulties stop him. He used every challenge as a chance to grow and learn. Thomas Edison's story didn't stop with just electricity and movies. His life was a journey of constant learning and discovery. Even as a young boy, Thomas was curious about how things worked. He would take apart machines at home to see what was inside. Sometimes he broke them, but he always learned something new. As he grew older, Thomas started to see problems around him, and he wanted to solve them. He believed that every problem was an opportunity to make life better. For example, he noticed that people had trouble communicating over long distances. So, he worked on improving the telegraph, a machine that sent messages using codes. This invention helped businesses and families stay connected. Thomas also loved helping others. He often said, "The best way to invent something is to think about what people need." That's why his inventions were so useful. From the phonograph, which could record sound, to better batteries for machines, Thomas always worked to improve the world. But life was not always easy for Thomas. He faced many challenges. When he was a child, his teachers didn't understand him. They thought he was not smart because he asked too many questions. His mother believed in him, though, and taught him at home. This gave Thomas the freedom to learn in his own way. As an adult, Thomas faced financial problems. Some of his inventions didn't sell well, and he lost money, but he never gave up. He worked day and night in his lab, trying new ideas. He believed that hard work and focus were the keys to success. Thomas's story shows us that success doesn't come overnight. It takes time, effort, and patience. His life is a reminder that everyone can make a difference if they stay curious and never stop trying. Thomas Edison didn't see failure as a bad thing. Instead, he saw it as part of the learning process. When he was working on the electric light bulb, he tried more than 1,000 different materials for the filament, the tiny part of the bulb that glows. Most of these materials didn't work. People asked him why he didn't give up. Thomas smiled and said, "I have not failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work." This way of thinking made Thomas special. He believed that every mistake taught him something important. If one idea didn't work, he tried another. He showed that being patient and staying positive can lead to great things. Thomas also believed in teamwork. Even though people often call him a genius, he didn't work alone. He had a team of workers and scientists in his lab. They all worked together, testing ideas and building new machines. Thomas knew that everyone on his team was important, and he often said, Great ideas come from great teams. Another thing that helped Thomas succeed was his ability to focus. He spent long hours in his lab, sometimes working for days without rest. When he had an idea, he didn't stop until he tested it. This kind of focus helped him turn ideas into real inventions that changed the world. Thomas's life teaches us that failure is not the end. It's just a step on the way to success. He also shows us that we don't have to do everything alone. Working with others and staying focused on our goals can help us achieve amazing things. Thomas Edison loved to ask questions. As a child, he wanted to know how everything worked. He didn't just accept answers. He wanted to see for himself. When he was 12 years old, he got his first job selling newspapers and snacks on trains. But Thomas didn't stop learning. He set up a small lab in the baggage car of the train. There, he performed little experiments when he had free time. One day, an accident happened. One of his experiments caused a small fire in the train car. The conductor was very angry and threw Thomas and his lab off the train. But Thomas didn't give up. He continued to experiment at home. This event didn't stop his curiosity. It made him more determined. Thomas was also very interested in communication. When he was young, the telegraph machine was a popular way to send messages over long distances. Thomas learned how to use it and even built his own telegraph system. This skill would later help him invent better ways for people to communicate, like the phonograph, which was the first machine to record and play sound. His curiosity didn't just help him invent things, it also helped him solve problems. For example, when Thomas wanted to create the electric light bulb, he had to solve many problems. How could he make a bulb that didn't burn out quickly? How could he make electricity safe and available for everyone? Thomas didn't stop asking questions until he found the answers. Edison's life reminds us that curiosity is powerful. Asking questions can lead to amazing discoveries. It teaches us to stay curious, to keep learning, and to never stop exploring the world around us. Thomas Edison believed in hard work. He often said, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." This means that success doesn't come from just good ideas. It comes from working hard every day. Thomas worked long hours in his lab, sometimes even sleeping there. He didn't stop until he found answers to his questions. One of his biggest projects was the electric light bulb. Many people tried to make a light bulb before him, but they failed. The bulbs didn't last long or were too expensive. Thomas wanted to create a light bulb that everyone could use. He and his team tested over 1,000 materials to find the right one for the filament, the part of the bulb that glows. Some people laughed at him for trying so many times, but Thomas didn't care. He said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." After years of hard work, he finally succeeded. In 1879, Thomas showed the world his electric light bulb. It could burn for many hours without going out, but Thomas didn't stop there. He wanted to make electricity available for everyone. He built power plants and created a system to deliver electricity to homes and businesses. His inventions changed the way people lived. Edison's story shows us the value of hard work. If we want to achieve something big, we must keep trying, even when it's hard. We might fail many times, but each failure teaches us something new. Edison's life reminds us to stay focused, work hard, and never give up. Thomas Edison was not just a man of ideas. He was a man of action. He always wanted to solve problems that made life hard for people. For example, before the light bulb, People used candles and oil lamps for light. These were not safe and they didn't give much light. Edison wanted to create something better, something that would make life easier and safer for everyone. One day, Edison looked at the darkness around him and thought, why can't we have light at night that is bright and safe? This question stayed in his mind. He began to work on it with his team of inventors. They worked day and night, testing different materials for the filament. Some filaments burned out quickly and some didn't glow at all. But Edison didn't stop. He believed that every failure brought him closer to success. In the end, it was bamboo that worked. Edison discovered that when bamboo was treated and turned into a thin carbon strip, it could glow for many hours without burning out. His team built the first working light bulb, and it changed the world. Imagine how exciting it must have been to see a room light up for the first time with electricity. Edison's hard work didn't just stop with the light bulb. He kept asking questions like, how can we bring this light to every home? And how can we make life better with electricity? These questions led him to build power stations and create systems to send electricity to cities and towns. Edison's story shows us that big changes start with small questions. If you see a problem, don't be afraid to ask, how can I fix this? With curiosity and effort, you can make a difference, just like Thomas Edison did. Thomas Edison was not only known for the light bulb, he invented many other things that changed the world. One of these inventions was the phonograph. This was the first machine that could record and play sound. Imagine hearing music or someone's voice from a machine for the first time. Before this, if people wanted to hear music, they needed someone to play it live. The phonograph made it possible for music to reach every home. Edison's idea for the phonograph came from his work on the telegraph and telephone. He asked himself, what if we could save sound like we save words on paper? He started to experiment. He used a thin metal cylinder covered with tinfoil. When someone spoke into the machine, a needle would press onto the tinfoil, making tiny marks. Later, when the cylinder turned again, the needle would follow those marks and the sound would play back. It was like magic. People were amazed by the phonograph. They could record their voices, listen to music, and even save important speeches. This invention also changed businesses. Companies started to use the phonograph to record messages and ideas. Edison believed that sound could connect people in new ways, and he was right. Another one of Edison's great inventions was the motion picture camera. This machine made it possible to record moving pictures, which we now call movies. Edison didn't invent movies alone, but his work helped make them popular. He built a studio where actors could perform, and his team made short films. These early movies didn't have sound, but they were exciting to watch. People loved going to theaters to see moving pictures. Edison's inventions teach us that creativity has no limits. He didn't stop with one idea. He kept asking, what else can we do? How can we make life more fun, easier, or better? His story reminds us to always be curious and to explore new possibilities. At the end of his life, Edison was known as one of the greatest inventors in history. He had over 1,000 patents for his inventions. But Edison didn't see himself as a genius. Instead, he believed that his success came from something simple: hard work and persistence. Edison famously said, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." This means that while ideas are important, the real key to success is working hard and not giving up. Edison's life teaches us a valuable lesson. Never give up on your dreams, even when things are difficult. He faced many challenges in his career, People told him his ideas were impossible. Sometimes his inventions didn't work as he expected, but Edison didn't let failure stop him. He learned from his mistakes and tried again. He once said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This shows that failure is not the end. It's just part of the process. We can all learn from Edison's determination. Whether it's school, work, or personal goals, there will always be challenges. But if we keep working and learning, we can overcome them. Edison also reminds us to think differently. He didn't just accept things as they were. He asked questions and looked for better solutions. This mindset helped him invent things that changed the world. In the end, Thomas Edison's story is about more than just inventions. It's about having the courage to dream big, the patience to work through difficulties, and the strength to keep going. No matter where you start or how many times you fail, you can always succeed if you keep trying. So, next time you face a challenge, remember Edison's words. "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Moral of the story: don't be afraid of failure. Use it as a tool to learn, grow, and try again. Success doesn't come overnight, but with hard work and perseverance, you can achieve great things. Keep dreaming, keep working, and you will find your own path to success.